We are live on Oz Property Investors. We bring the big names and we have the big fun. Look who we dragged in. We've got Joe back and he's back on deck. But we have Belinda, Stanley. You are an amazing property investing story from teacher to multi-million-dollar property portfolio. And we've got all the lessons. You bought your first property at 19, which is absolutely amazing. And you now sort of got that multi-million-dollar portfolio at 33 now. But there's going to be all the ins and outs of that journey. So stay along, people. And we're going to be talking about some locations, different strategies, and all the lessons. So first of all, Belinda, how are you going?
Yeah, really well for a Wednesday night. It's good to be here.
What else would you be doing on a Wednesday night? You know, this is way better.
I know. What else would I be? Yeah, no, I'd be. It's a good question. What I'd be doing? Probably writing paperwork. But who doesn't love writing paperwork? So good to hear you. Well, Joe, you're back. Tell us about it. How are you feeling?
Mate, I'm back. I'm back in it. I've been away for 4 or 5 weeks. I did a little post in the little Facebook group to tell people I would be away, but Belinda, I had a little bit of a motorcycle accident. I wasn't doing anything silly. It was nothing crazy. I just lost control of the beautiful vehicle and met the concrete at about 50 kilometers an hour. So I fractured my shoulder. My elbow hit the ground first, and that went through my back, which fractured the scapula, and then I had to have the surgery on that. And then I flipped over the top and then landed on my hip. So fractured my hip as well. So I am just shuffling around on chairs at the moment. But it was crazy. I had the accident 3 weeks late. It took 3 weeks to get surgery, like in the public system, because silly. Anyway, it's been 5 weeks or so. I'm back into it. So if I say anything crazy, I am on some pain-killing medication, which is why I'm so excited to be back. So maybe I'll actually start saying like normal stuff in these things. But if I do say anything pretty rogue, I'm going to just blame it on the blame it on that. You can bleep me out, maybe.
But no,
I wanted to jump on this session because your story is ridiculous. Like, we're going to be covering off. You're 33 and you own 10 properties. What? But not just 10 properties, not just like 10 set and forgets and buy and holds. There's a whole mix. There's duplexes, there's rooming houses, there's off the plan house and land packages. Like, it sounds like that we've got a pretty and commercial. Yeah.
It's about that transition as well, which I'm very interested to hear what the reason for the commercial was. But no, it's going to be a fun, amazing story. And I was going to say multi-million-dollar portfolio, Joe. That's all right. All good. Oh. We've covered that off. So for those who haven't seen Belinda around, you are a former school teacher. You built that multi-million-dollar portfolio, including commercial, residential, by your early 30s. And student rentals as well, duplexes and trusts as well. So you've got tobacconist tenancies in there as well. So this is a real world look into somebody's portfolio, so the ups and downs. And I'm most interested to hear how the sort of how the teacher's salary and how you sort of built that out. Like, you didn't do it overnight. So anybody sort of watching along, it wasn't 8 properties in 8 months, unfortunately. So that's, if you want that story, go to some other
go somewhere else.
Sort of content. But the thing I love about it as well is you also have the joy of, you've got your golden retriever Harry, you're solving jigsaw puzzles. So I love a good jigsaw myself as well, and exploring a good book and personal fitness. So you got the Peloton. So everything is happening, Belinda. Wow. So before we go, as I said, we're starting off with a bang. I'm going to throw this in there. This information is general in nature. Not taking into account your personal needs or objectives. Go and speak to your accountant, your sort of financial planner, broker, all those good people. We're not liable for any loss. So, yeah, the thing I missed, though, is that you've now transitioned into property full time. So you're settlements manager for somebody close to us. But the first question, Belinda, is I want to know, what is it that got this all started for you? How did you learn about it as well?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was definitely family. So I got asked this before, like, what's the first memory you have? And so for me, it was of property. So it was in a property and investment in Sydney that my parents owned. And I was probably 9, 10 at the time. And mum got me the paintbrush and she was like, you need to get in and do the cupboards. So I did like the pantry, the linen cupboard, all of that, because I was small and could literally climb into them and paint the walls and things inside the pantry to help. So that's actually the first memory I have of us, of property. And that was, about 10 years old, renovating, cosmetic renovations for my mum and dad's investment property. So look, it's definitely a family trait. My pop was into property investing, and my parents kind of followed suit more on my mum's side. And then, we've kind of just grew up around property. Like mum and dad had a few, and it was just common for us to go every few weekends. They had a couple in Sydney or Central Coast, so we'd go and do gardening or through my sort of and it wasn't really, I wouldn't say it was discussed. Like it wasn't around the dinner table being like, this is what we have, this is what, why we're doing it. It just kind of was in the background. It was just something we did on the weekends, went and painted something or did some garden renovations somewhere.
Yeah, well done, and that's the sort of thing hopefully I can instill in my little young family as well. But I did just on that, because for those watching with parents, hopefully we've just got parents, but those watching with kids at home, what were some of the things? Did your parents sort of naturally get you involved, or were they deliberately taking you along and saying, "Hey, Belinda, you need to learn about this stuff because it's important"? How did they approach that conversation with you?
I think when it was younger, like 9, 10, I wouldn't probably be left alone. So it was just kind of like, hey, you're coming too. And then I think as it got older, it kind of became, for me, I actually really enjoy painting, and I still do. I just get like a sense of accomplishment out of it, like before and after photos, and seeing in a day, you can paint a room and it just looks totally different and you've added value, and it's like, I just get a real sense of accomplishment. So I think to start, it was kind of not really an obvious decision for my parents to do it. But I think over time, as we got older, it kind of just became like, okay, this is what we're doing. And then obviously the older you get, the more you sort of understand. And once I got my own job and was earning money and things like that, it became more of a conversation of, hey, this is what I want to be doing. What should I be doing? Because there wasn't kind of podcasts and books, and back then, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, I think that's the value of what this is, just pure exposure. But also, you kind of, like as a kid, you got exposed to all the rubbish bits, right? Like, oh, we got to go here and paint it, and we got to renovate this, and we got to do this, and you realize like, oh, it's actually not that bad. Like, this is not the hard, like, is this as hard as it kind of gets? Like, it's not that bad. Obviously the financial strain, if there was any finance, you would have been kind of kept away from that. But the actual like bits and pieces of everyday property investing, you would have had some good exposure to, which I guess would have led you to be like, oh, cool, I've done this before. This is easy. Like, this is nothing crazy and nothing special. So was it always on the cards for you? Was it like, yeah, look, I'm 16, 17, I'm going to start saving now and, doing little jobs? Like, how did you actually start going from that switch of, cool, everyone's doing it, to I'm going to do this now?
Yeah, I mean, I was always a saver. I just, had a little money box from when I was young. Pretty much as soon as I could get a job, I did sort of reffing touch footy games, basketball, netball, weekend. It was like $5 a game. And back then, it's great. You're like pocket money, but I used to kind of keep, anytime I'd get birthday gifts or, money for Christmas, whatever it may be, you go visit your nan and she's like, here's $10. And you're like, all right. So I'd go put that in my piggy bank. So I was just always a saver. And then, throughout sort of basically from 14 and up, I pretty much had a job most of the time, or multiple jobs. So I think that's from my mum and dad were pretty hard workers. They're both definitely like average income earners. Mum was a nurse. Dad was a like warehouse industrial sort of truck driver. So they weren't on high incomes. So we didn't, go and splurge and do these sorts of things. So it was kind of, that was instilled. I don't think it was, again, like a specific conversation. It was just the way that they were kind of translated to me. And so by the time I was kind of 16, 17, working all through school when I could. As soon as I finished school, I'm actually young for my year. So I finished in like November, the HSC, and I was only 17. So between that and starting uni, like I picked up full-time work because I couldn't go out, to bars with friends and stuff like that. So worked, pretty much full-time all during uni, and was able to save. And honestly, the first property wasn't like, I had actually spoken to a broker because I had a good like deposit saving just from years and years of work. And back then, obviously, property prices were lower. So I had chatted to a broker to be like, oh, this is kind of, I'm looking along these lines. My brother had actually bought a property a year before I did. So we were quite close. So I knew he had. So he was definitely probably the driver that made me be like, oh, okay, you're doing this. Like, I've seen this. I've been around this. This is probably something I should start looking at. So he definitely would have been the one that made me kind of look into it to start that early anyway.
So good. Straight hustle.
I was going to say it's great to hear you had that sort of family influence and had that, because it does make such a huge difference. Because I'm probably I shouldn't speak on behalf of Joe, but I kind of probably know a little bit of Joe's story. Like I didn't really have any sort of influence in the backstory, and it's something that came up in the comments and the questions before. They sort of said, well, what family influence did you sort of have, or was there any? They were kind of, I suppose, digging to see, or was there like a silver spoon there? And there isn't. For yourself, as you said, your parents were sort of fairly working class, which is great. But yeah, I didn't have that influence around me, so it's great you had that sort of guiding. But at the same time, the thing I want to sort of know, and Joe will sort of touch on as well, is your vision. How did you then sort of, was there a grand vision in place, or was it simply one foot after the other? I'm going to buy this property and see how it turns out. Like, and tell us about that first property as well. How did it go?
Yeah. Well, so I had gone to see the mortgage broker. Obviously, my brother had done one, and I was like, yeah, okay, this could be something I look into. So I'd at least seen him, so I kind of had an idea of what I could borrow. And then my brother lived in Townsville, and we went up to visit him, and we took my pop with me, and my parents were there, and we were just like going for a drive one time and kind of ended up seeing this development that was like, oh, new house and land basically being built. So we're like, oh, we'll go to the sales office. Went to the sales office, and they were like, oh, like, here's this lot here, put $1,000 down today and it's yours. And basically you get finance later sort of thing. And I was like, oh yeah, seems really good.
$1,000,
so,
you're good.
Not knowing anything. So put the $1,000 down and flew back to Sydney being like, cool, I bought a block of land.
I'm a property investor. Yeah. And did you have the plan? Like, did they give you the full, like, was it full turnkey where, great, we're going to now have building it out and doing all of that stuff?
It was, yeah. So back then, it ended up working out at about 450 grand. So looking back now, I'm like, stuff up there was more like 350. So I definitely overpaid. And obviously I had done no research, no data, like none of that was a thing back then. There was no real education out there. It's kind of 19-year-old me being like, I want to do what my brother's doing. I'm going to go buy a house. So look, it worked out. I got the finance, was able to settle, took sort of 6-8 months to build or so. My finance actually took a little longer than what I thought. And I remember the moment that I probably now looking back on was a red flag, that I reached out to the builder to be like, oh, sorry, my finance has been delayed. Like, I'm going to need a bit more time. I'm really sad. Like, I was hoping it would, be ready to go. And he was like, oh, that's fine. We've already started building your house. And he sent me photos, and it was like the slab was down, half of the like walls were up. And I was like the frame was up, and I'm going, obviously now at the time I was like, awesome. Look at this. This is my house. This is exciting. But now I look back being like, I should have realized that, they would just, these are cookie cutter. They just make them, anyone, there's other buyers lined up. I'd only paid $1,000 and here they were building like my house.
Yeah, there's half a house built and you put the grand down.
I'd love to hear more about unpacking your the sort of time frame of that, because we know Townsville has seen a considerable run from 2021 or 2020 roughly to 2025. It's done like close to doubled. So
14 years ago, really. Like, this would have been 14 years ago, right?
Yeah,
14,
so
2011,
2012. So it ended up basically settling in 2012. So it went up a little bit in the first year. So I was able to pull some equity. Kind of went up about 50 grand in that first sort of year. So I was actually able to pull some out to go into the second one. And then it stopped. Well, I kind of went backwards, and then it did absolutely nothing for 8 years. Absolutely nothing. Obviously, like, I had rental and it was brand new, so the maintenance was low. I was on interest only, so it was making me money. I was getting positive cash flow, and so at the time, you don't really know any better. It's your first.
Not hurting you, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the takeaway? Like, because we're talking about this and we kind of know that it's probably not the best investment. There's a couple of things in there, but like for a newbie investor, that like, why is this not the most ideal thing? Like, what is the problems with this? Like doing what you did now. In the grand scheme of things, you did what you did at the time, and that's absolutely fine. You could have obviously bought an established dwelling in that same area for $300,000, and which would now be worth, $1 million. No, maybe not. But what were some of the lessons that you take away from 33-year-old Belinda as opposed to 19-year-old Belinda? What are the lessons you take from this?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest one would be that education is first and then the action is second. So you don't have to know everything, but you have to know enough that you feel confident to make an informed decision. And I definitely didn't do that. I was action first, jump straight in. So for anyone doing it now, it would be take the time, do some education, be confident in where you're looking, the data, the research, actually understand it. Or if you don't have time or the capability, get a good BA to do that for you. And then jump in. Obviously, there is kind of a level of, analysis paralysis. Too much can sometimes, be too much. But yeah, that would be from what I learned from that. Like, education needs to come first.
Yeah, just because and it felt like you jumped into any kind of shiny object that popped up at that time. Like the loudest voice won in that situation, not the kind of logical voice of like, it was cool. This has got tax depreciation. It's only going to be $1,000. It's going to be brand new, and like those kind of things. Maybe even had a guaranteed rent. Like those things just look like red flags nowadays. Like now, when you look back at them, it's not that. So how did it go from there? So did you know about those things after a year or two, and then shift strategies a little bit? Like, what did the next purchase look like? How did that go?
Yeah, so it was good, like being interest only, and it was reasonable renting. Like I was renting for sort of $520 a week, so it wasn't too bad. And I kind of went to the broker, and it had gone up a bit, so we were able to extract equity from it. And I was actually able. So the first one, when I did the Townsville, I actually put down a 20% deposit. So we were able to bump that up to more like 88% and extract with the equity as well, and then move into the second. And for the second, I definitely did a bit more research. I was like, no, okay, I need to have a look at what I need. And what I needed was like, okay, I need cash flow, because I'm like, well, this is good. Like I that's what I want. You want cash. I wasn't thinking about equity and growth as much then. I was like, I want the cash. So I zoomed in on Newcastle, because I was like, Sydney just seemed a bit out of reach, but I was like, Newcastle's good, close enough. And then I thought, so we went up to have a look. My mum and my pop and I went up, and we went to 2 or 3 different real estate agents just to see what they had on the books. And then we came across one that had this brick house, 3-bed, and it had students in it. It was only very close, walkable to the university and just down from the shops. So we were like, okay, this is quite good. It was $455, and it was renting for $590. So I was like, yeah, okay, this is great. So we put an offer in. Yeah, put an offer in, got accepted pretty much while we were in there with the agent. Went and did finance, and look, it was good for a bit. And then I realized that when you have students, you are paying for absolutely everything. So there was internet bills that I had to deal with, like internet connectivity when they couldn't connect. There was obviously electricity, water, like it was just, the bills kind of started adding up that I was not really prepared for when I did my first calculations. So after the first one, I was kind of like, okay, I need to learn a bit more about this. So I used to go to the op shop near me, and they had a section that was like business books. And they'd always have real estate and money books. So I'd go in and buy, they were like $1, $2 books. So I'd go and buy, like every couple of weeks, they'd have new books that people would drop in. So I'd go and take books from there and read them. And I kind of, started to work out like, okay, here's how you find the yield. This is what you need to take off, like insurance. This is what yield I should be looking at, all of that sort of stuff. So I kind of had high level back of the envelope calculations I was doing. So that kind of ticked the boxes until I then got into it and was like getting all these bills coming in, being like, oh, this is actually not the best.
Yeah.
Which so many different paths I could take because it's interesting you sort of talk about that. What were some of those and just for those playing at home, so many books at the library as well. So many, like if you can't go to a local op shop or you're not finding, library's fantastic.
Go to the library.
An undervalued resource. I sound like a boomer there, but then that's cool. But Belinda, what were some of those books, the top titles that you read from the op shop?
Oh, I mean, one of my favorite was Margaret Lomax, actually.
Oh, yeah. Lomax.
I think maybe because she was a woman too, that it kind of drew me. Like
She's
most of them I read.
She had heaps
most
out
of them
there.
I read were from males. So,
did you know, something. What about because I'm just remembering Jan Summers wrote. Did you ever pick up a Jan Summers book?
I do have one on my bookshelf. Yes.
Yeah. I know some people who know. We should try and get her on the podcast, but I just don't know if I think she's probably in a who knows? Jan Summers would be she's one of the OGs of Australian property investing. But yeah, good on you for Margaret Lomas. I think it's questions to ask or something.
I've got a lot of Steve McKnight too. Obviously, those when you're younger and you're like, whoa, 130 properties, you love it. But
look, I love that Steve has 130 properties. Like that was the book, or 160 at some point. He now has 4. He has 4 properties.
Did he buy another one?
Was it 3? No, I thought
3. Yeah, maybe could.
We did a podcast. Okay, we did a podcast with him. He's like, mate, sold it all, done. I've now got 3 properties. Very expensive, very nice properties, all giving him beautiful cash flows. Sorry, Belinda, I cut you off there though. What were you saying?
No, I actually have listened to that podcast, and I was like, it's funny how you just see someone's path change. That, back then it's all about quantity of properties, and then it kind of shifts to quality of properties. So
and just going back, the thing, while she said that there wasn't 100% perfection, like you actually just took action, because I see so many people that we speak to, even in the group, that just they're not able to sort of execute the thing, and you actually kind of some of the best learning is actually through doing. So you kind of learned, you bought the first one and said, well, that probably didn't work out the way I would have liked, the location, maybe the type of property or dwelling I bought. The second one, okay, I'll figure out a location that's a little bit different. And what type of was that a unit, or was it a house that you bought in Newcastle?
It was the freestanding house. Yeah. 3 and 2. So look, I've still got it. It has been changed back just to a normal rental. I made that decision a couple of years ago. Just obviously took a big chunk of a hit in the rent.
Yep.
But now rents have gone up, and it's great.
A lot less headaches. A lot less headaches from admin. Yeah.
But that kind of, so once I did that, I kind of I liked that path of cash flow, and I was like, well, that property didn't quite work. What else would give me cash flow? So I decided to have a look into a duplex option, because I was like, well, it's not, it's not students, I'm not paying all their bills, but you're still getting 2 incomes. So I was in Armadale, and my aunties live in Armadale. So I had done a little bit of research. It's one of those, there was probably a couple of different places on my list, but it just so happened that my aunties live there, and I knew the good pockets because I'd been there. Whereas I think back then, and now people are so good at their due diligence, you get down to street level. I don't think back then, it was 2014, people were doing that level. Like it was kind of pick a place and kind of you invest. Whereas I felt like Armadale actually knew the pockets. I'd been there every year. So we went there and found a duplex, went and inspected with my dad. Looked really good. We were happy. Brick, 4-bed, 2-bath, obviously split 2 and 1. So put an offer in. It was 310. So put an offer in. The agent called to be like, hey, we've got another offer at 310. It's basically whoever can get the deal faster. So I went back and I was like, cool, I can do this. So I actually went back and was like, I'll give you 311, because I'm feeling like I'll just, make sure I'm at the top of the thing. And my broker, I was like, we got to act, and I just remember my dad, we drove to the McDonald's, and obviously we're using their Wi-Fi to get onto the broker and send all my pay slips and bank statements and everything to get financed. So I did get it first. So we were able to buy that one. Still got that one. That's great. So it was renting at $440. So 311 purchase price, $440 rent. It rents for $700 now, $350 aside.
Probably worth about 600, 650 now, roughly, maybe a little bit more, give or take.
Nice.
Yeah. So funnily enough, I actually got approached last week. My agent, my property manager, called to be like, hey, someone in the office, a BA is actually snooping around for duplexes. Would you sell? And I was like, oh, if the price is right. So currently there's negotiations.
Okay, we won't talk. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Don't give us the bottom line of what you would accept. Double it.
At least $1 million, and then we'll start at $1 million.
Yeah, it's probably where value is for a duplex.
So look, we'll see. It could get sold. It's it's
spicy.
Sometimes it's okay to sell if the price is right and it makes sense in your strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So look,
that's crazy. So, well, one of the questions I have just on that. So, why did you have a 14-day like finance clause in the contract? Like, why was your offer not accepted as on face value? Or did they say, you don't have pre-approval, you don't have pre-approval, we got 2 offers to 2 people that don't have pre-approval, I need you to prove that the broker can get it? Or did you just go unconditional on the contract?
No, pretty much the second one. So I didn't have my pre-approvals. I wasn't going there to purchase something. It just kind of teed up at the same time. So I kind of, and this is where, like, I think I had chatted with the broker every sort of time to just, check in and be like, this is what I want, this is how we're going to pull money, or I've been saving this, like, what can we look at? So I knew it could be there, but yeah, it was pretty much, 2 buyers. They didn't really care about the 1,000. I just threw it in as a sweetener so that they would hopefully go with me. It was just a race to whoever could get it first. So
Get it.
So you went unconditional though about the 5-day cooling off in New South Wales typically that people have.
Yes. Didn't have a cooling off. No.
Oh, wow.
66W. Gee, well, I suppose the way I think about this, and I get a little irksome, and I get irksome when agents will sort of suggest that that's the path they want to go. New South Wales, they love doing it. They love pushing in these particularly in Sydney. But yeah, I just sort of say, if you know the numbers, as long as you're not lying about the numbers and you're comfortable, and as long as you've got a good professional on your side sort of doing that for you, then I'm not suggesting you should do it. But if you're really, really comfortable, then maybe you can consider it if it's going to sort of sway it over. But if you're really unsure and if it's your first property, maybe just reconsider going unconditional on the about the finance and the pest and building.
I do think lending's a little trickier now, definitely. I feel. So it was.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring this up as well from Rebecca. And Rebecca, we'll get you on. And I think you've got more than just because I keep saying we'll get her on the show. She said it's so great that you have so much family support. It makes such a difference. I hope to give my kids that same support. And I think that whether you're male, female, it's always great to have that support. But I think it's not even just the monetary support. It's also the ability to sort of be there and have those conversations, because if you feel like you're not sort of doing it alone, then you have the opportunity to sort of take confident action, as you did, Belinda, as well. You could have done it yourself 100%, but I think it just gives you that little bit of extra bit of support, as Rebecca says, male, female.
So did you have a guarantor loan, or like what kind of support did you have from the, I don't think we didn't say that.
I didn't. But I knew it was one of those, like, my parents obviously were into property investing. So I knew that I had support if things went hinky, which luckily they didn't. And I was lucky. But, if I needed something, or, they had to help bail me out, I'm sure we could have worked something out, but I didn't have to. But it's always that support. Like, they're there to they were allowing me to do my own thing. I was working a couple of jobs at the time, saving up, doing all the right things, but they were kind of like, yep, you're doing you, but we're here if you need us. And I think the hardest thing is, like, the numbers for me are really easy, like understanding this is the rent, this is the yield, that all makes sense. I think it's managing the fear and anxiety around the emotional side. And sometimes that's where the family support is good. Like, the pat on the back, like you're doing the right thing. Yes, this is a good deal. And I think some people don't have that, which does make it hard. People get analysis paralysis. They look and they're like, they try and chase that perfect deal. And to me, the perfect deal does not exist. You just need to find something that ticks a lot of boxes that you're comfortable with, that's going to work for you. It's not perfect, but it's solid. That's
I was literally having this conversation to an investor today, and I'm like, it takes time to find a great deal, right? Like, we got to get in a place that doesn't have any bushfires, doesn't have any floods, doesn't have any encumbrances, doesn't have any caveats, it hasn't got a high housing commission percentage, doesn't have a high renter percentage, isn't on a main road, isn't behind a train track, isn't on a flight path. Like, imagine how many properties that are on the market that have, just one of those things that then just rules them out. Like, what are the odds to actually find a deal that stacks up? It takes ages to find them. But also, what is the difference capital growth wise from a market that from a place that is 55% renter percentage against 45 renter percentage? Like, is the capital growth fundamentally different? Now, there is a bit of, like, in the numbers, there is a little bit of a difference and getting difficult tenants. But if you've got a low budget, you kind of don't have a choice but to sacrifice on some things. Like, I'm hearing a lot of people with budgets of $500,000 and $450,000. It's so hard out there. You're going to have to get into the property market. You're going to have to sacrifice, and you're going to have to loosen up some of those things that are tight to be able to achieve good that's you're probably going to have to do some renovation work as well. But that's how I kind of think about the deals. It doesn't make it easier to buy them, but they are out there. But the unicorn is definitely a 1 in 100.
Super hard to find. And I think I would rather buy something sooner than wait for something that's perfect, because the amount of growth and things you can do in the meantime waiting, you could spend 3 years waiting for the perfect property. How much could a solid property have gone up in 3 years if you bought it when you looked at it? So
I like it. Tim has said, I love the contribution you do as well, Tim. Keep these comments coming. Everybody's engagement is high. People are really resonating with your story, Belinda. So he said, how do you keep affording to use the equity when you need to pay for that loan and then say 80% on the loan? You borrow 105% of the property, and that if the yield is low. So we sort of answered some of that. You did sort of steal, this was early in the show, Tim. He also said, how did you manage to scale your portfolio from one property to the next? So we're in, and you can probably tell it as well, Belinda, but we're in 2014, 2015, where it was probably a little bit easier to start extracting the equity, whereas it started to get, I'd be interested to hear how you sort of went, because when did you sort of start, because this is 3 properties in, but you've got a couple there. Where did you buy much? Did you start buying much more beyond 2017, 2018? And how did you find that shift anyway?
Yeah, look, it definitely was easier back then. It's one of those, I was saving quite a lot. Like, I was still, 19, 20, 21. So, and I was still at home, which was obviously a massive win. Paying board, but not like, market rent the same as renting. So that was probably something that my family were able to do for me without it being, I guess, a monetary or guarantor or something. But they were like, we're happy for you to still stay here as long as, you're working, you're paying for the bills. So you're still contributing, you're studying full time. So it's kind of, as long as you're being a useful human, we'll help you by giving you a room, sort of. So that definitely helped. After the third one, I did get a little bit stuck and kind of needed to shift a bit. So I actually changed brokers and went down the trust borrowing line and not in personal name anymore, because I did start to hit that serviceability. So the next one was it was the next year, but it was probably maybe 18 months between that one and the fourth one, just because of that.
2017 or roughly?
Yeah, it would have been 2015. And then, so the fourth one I got, I didn't learn my lesson. I decided, I was like, I need more, I wanted to do cash flow. I could think my whole thing back then was I wanted cash flow. But I was I like the student accommodation idea, but it didn't work because I said, I've only had 3 bedrooms. So I'm like, I need a bigger house with more rooms so I can get more rent. So I went to Albury Wodonga, bought a 6-bedroom, 3-bath for $315, and It had students in it, and it was renting for about $750 a week.
Wow.
So it came out super positive. I was like, this is great. I've got lots of students, you know, they're all paying 200, 150, 200, depending on the room. So yeah, look, worked for a bit. It was a cosmetic reno. It was horrid.
I bet
you know, when you go into like the
gross.
RSL or like the bar, you know, buses that the carpet was like that. It was terrible. Yeah. So we did a cosmetic reno. So my brother flew in, my mum and dad came down. So we painted the whole house, got new carpets, spent probably about 15 grand, just cosmetic reno. Was able to lift some of the rents in some of the rooms, put solar on, because I was like, well, this is what I learned last time. The power bills were expensive. So put solar on.
Great idea.
Had, students. So worked for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, no, this is good. I can do this. Then it kind of realized there is so much turnover of students. It was like every year, I pretty much always had a bedroom empty. Just because of their turnover, different terms, different semesters, constantly like leasing fees, you know, report, like it just wasn't as good as I thought. It was still like good, but nowhere near what I thought. So I actually left it for a few years because I was like, I've done the solar, I've done the work, I'm just going to let it go. And then ended up changing it back. So it's just a large house now with a family.
Wow, that's a big shift. Because what did you say? How many rooms? Six rooms, 3 bathrooms.
So I'm actually at the moment, it's renting to the Red Cross. So I've had them for the last couple of years. So they basically put people who need accommodation, then you know, moving in between something or just coming to Australia, whatever it may be. Yeah. So Red Cross actually guarantee the rent and the maintenance and all of that. Yeah. So super easy. I don't really hear from them at all. They just solve their own problems. So it's
did they approach you or did you approach them?
So my property manager, I changed property managers because the one with the students, I just found I was having to actively manage them. So it was like every week it would be something, it would be a phone call, an email, this, you know, they're leaving, like it just got too much. And I was like, I can't be doing this. So I moved property managers, changed to a normal rental, and they actually were managing another one for Red Cross. And then Red Cross were like, oh, if you've ever got anything else. And they were like, actually, we've just got this 6-bedroom. Would you be interested? So yeah, it's still got that one. It's quite good.
Incredible.
I
guess what I'm seeing in this as well, just to touch back on the question about like, how did you keep going? How did you keep positive cash flow? Like the yields that you get in 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 have been 6%. Like all of those deals are 6% plus, like 6%, 7%. I mean, the rooming house was probably 10%. Yields, and the interest rates weren't too crazy at that time either. I think they were kind of what they are now, actually. Were they?
They were about, I think my first deal was like 5.5, and then it slowly went down. So probably about 4s.
So 2015, because I remember this very well, I got, and my first loan was with St. George at 7% in 2015. So they sort of went up, and then around 2017, 2018, they started to decline. And then, of course, we had COVID where they got dropped to around under 2%.
Zero.
Variable rates.
Almost.
Well, that's the cash rate. So, yeah. But no, the other thing that people, and it's interesting, you actually thought about, you sort of change your professional. You didn't just say, okay, I've got stuck here, I'm going to stick with this person, I can't do anything. The thing that I'm seeing, and we'll see it unravel further as we sort of, you actually just said, well, I need to sort of figure out what it is I need to do to keep moving forward for that next purchase. And that's the thing, that whether you're at 1 property, whether you're at 8 properties, that's the kind of mindset that you need to have. And that's the mindset that you have, Belinda. So congratulations to you. You sort of just said, well, I've got to find a way or make a way. So you did it. And you said, well, what do I need to do to make it happen to buy this next one? And I think regardless of whether you're starting in 2011 or whether you're starting in 2025 today, I think that's the kind of mindset and approach that you kind of need to have regardless of your income as well. How did you, sorry, Joe, you go.
Yeah, no, I have a question around like, how did you actually finance this stuff? because you got equity from the first one, which then rolled into the second one. You're obviously saving a little bit of money. Like, did it get to a point, because this is where it gets really exciting for property, where it's just straight equity? It's just your property portfolio is feeding in. Is that how you were doing it, and then just putting savings across the offset, or were you taking chunks of cash out to fund the next like for the rooming house? Did you use straight equity, or did you use cash and equity, or how did you think about that? Like utilizing the
so I
capital
did.
that you had.
Yeah, so first one was deposit, and then I was able to pull equity for the second one, and then pulled equity with a little bit of savings for the third, and then was all savings for the fourth, and that's probably why there was a bigger gap. And also changing structures obviously helped too. So yeah, that and then pretty much after that, I was kind of like not tapped out, but tapped out of savings definitely. So kind of sat for a little bit, probably a year or so. That would have been like 2016. And then, so a villa popped up in Sydney, around Hornsby Way.
Yep.
So I had a look at that. It was about 500,000. Went under contract, did the building and pests, but it had major issues, structural and termite pest issues. So we ended up crashing that. And then I didn't actually go again from that. I don't looking back, I don't actually know why. I think I was focusing on career, or, life gets in the way and you just start doing other things. But I was then started seeing my now husband, boyfriend at the time. And he kind of could see that I was interested in property, and he was actually, all that time I had been teaching. So I was 2016, I had a year 4 class. I think year before I had a year 1 class. So it was good. Like having someone then kind of joining. So he obviously, knew a little bit about property, but didn't have investments of his own or anything. And then kind of came a massive shift. We were supposed to be moving up to Queensland. He decided to buy a block of land up in Queensland, north side of Brisbane. And then he got the call to be like, hey, your work wants you to move to America, to Texas. And so he was like, do you want to come with me? And I was like, yeah, okay, let's go.
Wow.
So that was 2017, end of 2017. We moved to Texas and spent 3 years over in, Texas, working over there. So that was 2018, 19, and 2020. So during that time, he built a off the plan. It was an off the plan up, north side of Brisbane. So originally it was supposed to be our potentially forever home. But once we found out we were moving, we were like, just put like a, whatever, pretty, cookie cutter, double story on there, just turnkey, whatever. We don't care anymore because we're going to the other side of the world. So just an investment. So that got built while we were overseas. And we looked, I chatted with my broker about trying to buy something because we were earning income in American, which when we brought it back with the exchange rate is obviously amazing. So we chatted with him, but he wanted, it was shaving everything and it was difficult. And so we were just like, no, you know what, we're just going to enjoy the next couple of years. So we ended up just enjoying America, kind of having a break. Obviously,
were you looking at property there? Like, was property investing like, cool, we done it in Australia, let's think about Texas. Like, Texas has been booming, right, for the past 4 or 5 years, like probably since you've been there. Like, it's really been on the up as a city itself.
Look, we had a little bit of a look. There wasn't that many people doing it. I remember going to a seminar of Dimfna Boholt. I think that's her name. And she does US investing. And I remember listening to her and sitting there and being like, oh, maybe this is something we could do. But it just, I think work got in the way, and we were living together for the first time, and and then COVID happened in the last year. So we were there for all of 2020. So all lockdown anyway. So we kind of came back end of 2020 and we're like, all right, back in Australia, we kind of need to settle down and realize what we're doing. So his house had been built. We'd had tenants in it for a year, and then we got back and we moved into it. And then we actually shifted mortgage broker again. So we got a recommendation from someone who had kind of done a lot of what we were wanting to do. They had a large portfolio and kind of were like, hey, this is the broker I'm using. Give him a shout.
Was that Jared?
No, it's Nick Wilcox.
Nick's been on the show. Yeah, Blue Crane
Capital. Yeah.
Okay, Capital.
Shout out to
Bluefin tuna.
So we ended up meeting with him, and we're kind of like, this is what we've got. We obviously worked for nearly 3 solid years. We had plans end of COVID, or like 2020, because we sent a container home with all our stuff. So we were like, we've got nearly 3-4 months off. We'll go traveling. And then COVID hit and we couldn't travel anywhere. So all of our savings that we had to a massive like Europe trip all got cancelled. Well, we hadn't booked anything. So we just ended up coming back with huge savings because that's all we've been doing. And two incomes now as well was a massive difference. And then we had the exchange rate was like, came back with like 30% more than what we actually had saved in Australian. So look, we came back being like, we've got money to spend, but let's not be kind of rash about it. So we actually sat down with our accountant and broker to kind of map it out. So it actually took us maybe a year before we kind of pulled the trigger again. And I started a different job, so we had to wait for that too. And then we kind of, had a plan, set up some structures, worked out what we were going to do. And then we kind of went bam, 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 and bought 3 sort of more regional properties, all in Queensland. Yeah, all in Queensland, big like Toowoomba, Rockhampton, that sort of places.
Yeah.
And they're all generally standard. We did buy another duplex.
So they're all residential or residential properties?
All residential, yeah.
And did you use a buyer's agent at all for any of these?
No, I did all the research and looking. Yeah,
she's been a part of Oz. When did you join Oz Property Investors? Or not to give us
at least a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the Jeremy Nazelli effect. He literally tells us, that he will sit on our forum to sort of put his antenna up and say, well, where are people kind of starting to just casually talk about? And obviously he's not talking about, so that's the Jeremy Nazelli. And I wanted to bring this up because you sort of said, I think there is definitely a pattern. Like, yes, there was cash flow. So Belinda, so what is your buying criteria, and do you focus on a specific suburb or city? What if there is no growth for the next 5 years? Well, I think the last little bit, that's going to happen at some stage. You'll pick a market, and even, whether you use a buyer's aid or not, like, it's not going to grow 20% every year on year, unfortunately, as much as we want it to. But how did you then sort of shift to think about, you said Toowoomba, Bundaberg, or was it Rockhampton, one or the other? Rocky. How did you decide those locations? Were you doing the data, or was it, what was the research you did there?
Yeah, sort of definitely looking at, macro and micro, what's sort of happening, pretty much exactly what Joe listed, like trying to get down to street level of, how many renters, owner occupiers, where's the flood zones, bushfire, all of that kind of. Look, I think there's so much more now that you can get down to having a look. So we kind of start, the rough, like, hey, here are kind of 3 zones that we like, and then kind of going down, do these tick these boxes for us? What sort of infrastructure projects are happening? Toowoomba, we looked, and the big hospital was coming. There was the Qantas, Boeing, US company doing their airport there. So we were like, actually, these have got good indicators for us.
Australia's second largest city, inland city. Is Toowoomba, 187,000 people.
Oh, yes. I was going to say, I was thinking Goulburn, but that's Australia's first, definitely not Australia's largest.
Yeah. Sorry, Belinda. Yeah. So, you started at the beginning, like the high level macro, and then just drilled down and drilled down and drilled down. What were some of the suburbs that like, I guess, flood zone, flood free, no bushfire, and that cuts out a boatload, right?
It does. It really does. And I found I used to do quite a lot of talking to agents, and I don't know if it's like a female thing, but I always found I could get really good information from agents that maybe they don't see me as a threat. I don't know. It was, you just call them and have a chat, and they kind of tell you stuff that maybe, they wouldn't tell everyone, but you just kind of find out, oh, what's good, what's happening, what's this street, what do you find about this, and call a couple.
Yeah, I think it's actually that you're just interested. Like, I mean, male, female, maybe it makes a difference. I'm a male, but I just find like chalk and cheese, like pre-starting Oz property versus post-starting Oz property. I just realized that they're not actually the enemy. Like, yes, they might not be your friend, but you don't have to be like, oh, you know, I'm not telling you that. Like, why do you want to know that for? Like, it's just the demeanor, I find. You come across incredibly approachable, Belinda. So you're like, you're just having a casual chat, and then like, oh yeah, you know, they need to get divorced, and I don't know if that's kind of some information you found out, but just an example.
Definitely.
I can do a quick settlement. Does that help your vendor? Like, let's do a 30-day, and I'll sort of pull everything forward. Does 350,000 work for you, or something like that, or whatever it is? Yeah. But no, well done. How good's that?
Yeah, no, 100%. And then it kind of, we were living in the house, and we kind of were like, we don't actually really want to live here.
Like the one that you built, like the basic cookie cutter one.
So off the plan, it was nice to live in. It was neat, brand new, like clean, tidy, whatever. But we were on like a 400 square meter block, like right next to people. It was just in one of those brand new developments, and we were just living there being like, we don't love this. Like, you know, I can see 3 neighbors in my backyard when I stand, like, I don't want to be here. So we kind of were like, well, if this isn't our forever home, why don't we sell? And we were quite lucky. So we finished building that in 2019.
Yep.
So I think we spent so it was rented for 1 year, and then we lived there for 3 years. So we sold early 2024, and it basically doubled. So we built it for like 600, sold it for nearly 1.2.
I hope you haven't looked at it now, because it's probably like I suppose 1.5, 1.6 or whatever. Knowing what Brisbane's doing at the moment, it's going bananas. The banana benders are, Here we go.
Well, okay. So before we dive in, we need to run to one of our sponsors posts, and then you've made a bit of a transition now. Like, you've bought 3 residentials in a go, and then you're starting to think about the commercial space. So I'm really keen to unpack that. Or
keep the questions and comments coming as well.
Oh, throw them in. Throw the questions in the comments in, guys, because we'll try and hit to as many as we can.
Yeah. See this?
Everywhere you look, someone else is making money in property except for you. Your mate, he just bought a house. It's already gone up $100,000. There's some bloke on Facebook, he's bragging about pulling in a 7% rental yield. Meanwhile, you're stuck scrolling real estate and domain, confused as hell, and having no idea about where to start. Or maybe you're that mate that's got $100,000 in equity. You have a few properties under your belt, but you feel stuck. You're unsure about how to scale without over-leveraging and not knowing what the next right move is. So why does it feel like everyone else has some kind of secret that you're missing out on? It's because they do. There's a reason some people keep stacking properties while others sit on the sidelines stacking excuses. There's a reason why some investors buy under market value while others pay too much. There's a reason why investors know the hot spots before there's any heat. And there's a reason that some people build $150,000 in passive income while others just spend years thinking about it. And it comes down to knowledge. And that's exactly why Jeff Miles and I, Joe Tucker, created the Level Up Property course to hand you the exact step-by-step process that we've used to buy over $100 million worth of property in today's market. We've built Australia's largest property investment community with over 80,000 members, and we help everyday investors secure hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, all without wasting years of their life trying to figure it out the hard way. Making an uneducated decision on the biggest purchase in your life is just gambling with your future.
Stop it. Get some help.
And this isn't just another how to buy property course. Let's be clear though, this course isn't free. What? And neither should it be. This is our life's work. We've spent over 100 hours each on this course alone. Oh, babe. Okay, video number 3. Number 4 with million does... Fuck. Done. We've got decades of experience, millions of dollars in deals distilled into a repeatable process that you can take away for yourself. If you're looking for free advice, there's plenty of noise out there. You can go and find that if you'd like. But if you want real... actionable, step-by-step guided process that works in today's market, then this investment is going to change everything for you. By the time that you finish this course, you will have full confidence. You'll have every tool that you need to build an amazing portfolio if you act on it, right? Which is why we have mentoring built in. So we kick you up the butt to make sure that you're kicking your goals. So the real question is, how much longer are you going to watch everyone else making money in property before you jump in and start playing the property game properly? Because the sooner you start winning.
We are back. Yeah, there's definitely some goals being kicked there. It's exciting.
I love your ads.
Yeah, I think like it's been a while since I've seen that, and it makes me laugh every time. It's fantastic. Like I don't know. Yeah, I dig it. Very great editing from our amazing Thea.
Yeah. Whilst we're talking about exit, I want to know. Sorry.
Yeah, that was one of the questions. Well, one of the questions I had while Jeff tries to find his was like, how did it feel like having all of this equity? Like, you would have been holding these properties, they would have been growing, and like you're becoming a millionaire. Like you're a millionaire. How weird is that kind of feeling? But how do you think about the wealth side of things? And I don't know. That's a good question, but
yeah, look, it definitely, I think at the beginning was very much like a quantity thing. So I mentioned my brother, so he was kind of similar to us. So it was like he'd buy a property, I'd buy a property. He'd buy a property, I'd buy a property.
Okay.
So it was kind of like we were chasing each other. And then I guess, when I was able to team up with my husband, it was just kind of like superpowered a bit, that happens. And he's excellent. He's very supportive and enjoys the property side too. So I'm really lucky that I found someone, because I know not everybody has that, sometimes you don't mesh with your ideas on property, and that can make it really hard. People in my family wise, I definitely have friends who I would say kind of dropped off a little bit because I just kind of went to a different level. And around that time it was, we weren't going out clubbing, wanting to get, smashed until 3 a.m. in the morning and spend money on this. I was like, no, I want to be buying a property. So I'm like, I'm working, I'm saving, I might go out for a nice dinner or something, but I don't need to be out doing that. So I guess like priorities shift, and, you kind of find the people you mesh with, and some friends, maybe drop off. Sometimes it can be family if they don't have the same ideals as you. So yeah, that can be really hard for people.
No,
I think sorry, Jeff. The key point that I took away from that is how much competition you had with your brother, and that you guys were battling it out. And obviously it's not competition. It was just you're doing something, I'm doing something. But that's exactly what kind of Jeff and I did, right? I didn't have anyone in my life that was pushing me along and doing that kind of stuff. And then Jeff and I got together, and it's like, cool, I'm going to buy one, you're going to buy one. You can create these things. Like we've got the meetup that we run. We've got the meetups that you're going to every couple of weeks, Jeff, with Ricky. What are those meetups called? Like you can
Australian real estate meetups. Yeah, it's mostly an opportunity to have an occasional stone wood, but yeah. Not that I encourage responsible consumption of alcohol, but no. I think it's great. What I wanted to say, Belinda, where you were sort of like, people are in your life usually for a reason, a season, or forever. So those people that are in your life for the clubbing sort of situation, a season, as in like a couple of years or whatever it is, or a particular purpose, and then forever. So yeah. Greg said, I have Jeff holding me accountable, and I have people holding me accountable as well. So I'm people like, what have you done that, Jeff? Have you done that thing? And I'm like, no, I haven't, but I will. And then ask me again in 5 days. So is that kind of similar to you? You had your brother, or were you kind of just...
Yeah. And I think it's being able to bounce ideas off someone, or, a property might have come up and I'm like, hang on, like maybe I'm a bit too close to this, or I can't quite see it. I need to take the emotion out. Does this work? Am I making sense? So I think it's great if you can have someone. But it's just, like you said, people just come in. I actually went to your Ozprop summit that you did like 2 months ago.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
And obviously we all got Steve Polisi swag bags. And I was walking back to Central Station, or whatever the station, and was standing at the traffic light, and this other guy came up with policey swag bag. And I was like, hey, were you just at the summit? And he was like, yeah. We ended up walking for like 10 minutes to Wynyard Station together and just talked about property and like his portfolio. And like, it was just, you know, one of those moments that you just met someone who had a similar interest, and it was awesome being able to just bounce ideas with the total stranger who doesn't know me, doesn't, you know my portfolio, but, you know, what did you get out of the summit? What did, you know, Jeff and Joe, what did you learn from them and stuff? It was really cool. So events that you guys put on are awesome. And it just gives, and people, you know, I have a supportive family, but not everybody does or has, you know, a circle of friends or influence that they can rely on. So you guys, you know, hosting this and doing events just gives people a chance to find people who they can talk to and connect with. So thanks for that, guys.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll probably look to do another one next year, but we're arguing on the location, whether it's Brisbane or Melbourne. I want to go to Brisbane. I just miss Melbourne stuff. I don't know. It's not hot enough for me down there. But no, Belinda, it's kind of, if you don't have those people, if you don't have that family along, it's important that you sort of form and people. Occasionally, people I speak to, they say like, I'm glad there is that property family that I have there, because I don't have the friends that I can have those conversations with. And even when I go out to you go out to the barbecue or you go out to a dinner with friends or whatever it is, and I find it hard to hold myself back talking about it, because I always almost find them wanting to bring them into my sphere. But I'm also like, Jeff, you have to accept that not everybody loves property or loves investing, or they've got different challenges going on in their lives. And that's okay. Like, it's not that I'm better or they're worse, or they're better or I'm worse. It's just, that's their sort of where their headspace is, where their energy is going, and that's okay. But I wanted to talk to this, because this will go quite nicely into our next sort of portion as to what's next for you and what you think about and how much you've thought about this. As in, what's your plan with the portfolio? Hold and run yield, or take growth, pay off, or do something else?
Yeah, good question, and does tie nicely. So I think it was a podcast. Like, podcasts were becoming more of a thing. Education just in general was becoming more of a thing. And I listened to a podcast. I honestly can't recall who it was. And they made the comment that basically you only have 24 hours in a day. So you can work your butt off. And that's what I was used to doing, like holding 2-3 jobs at a time. You can work your butt off, but there's only 24 hours. You can only, like, that's a limit. You cannot earn any more. So, and he talked about passive income, and I was like, you know, it was like a light bulb moment. That was my aha moment. Like, okay, this is where I need to be going. Like, I don't want to be killing myself, you know, multiple jobs, multiple hours. Like, I don't want that life. So I was like, no, I need to start looking into something else, and chatted with the broker, and he was like, have you thought about commercial? And I was like, funny you say that. I've actually been doing some research, and I'd read Steve's books, reached out to a couple of different commercial BAs to just understand what they were doing. I definitely wasn't confident in commercial space. I kind of had done a bit of research and looking myself online, but I was like, this is a whole nother level that I don't know. And so ended up, we sold the property in Brisbane. We ended up moving back down to be closer to family because we had our first child. So we decided, move down, we'll rent vest. And it just opened up more borrowing capacity anyway. Refinanced a couple of things, had our chunk of change from the sales. So we were like, okay, here we go. We can go and buy a commercial. So we ended up working with Steve and his team at Policey, and we got a retail shop. So we really wanted industrial because that's what everyone was talking about. But then we ended up getting shown this retail shop in Sunshine Coast. So we were like, oh yeah, that's fine. Had a tobacconist in it. And we were kind of like, yeah, look, I don't smoke, but it's, you know, if they're paying the rent, it doesn't bother me too much.
Yeah. Initial thoughts are like, that's not a bad thing. That's all right. Like, it's just a thing.
You can literally see the beach from the front door, and it was right next to a bottle shop. So I'm like, everyone goes to the bottle shop, plenty of foot traffic. You can see the beach. There's a caravan park. I was like, yeah, this is really good.
Stacks.
How about the insurance though? Because everybody says that about it.
So we settled and it was fine. Didn't have any issues, and then we just had issues basically in the last year or so with the insurance and the firebombing and things that are happening on tobacconists. So we've kind of been dealing with that. Basically the options were, we were on obviously it's a net lease, so the tenant pays the insurance. So the strata, it was a strata unit, came to us basically saying, hey, because of your tobacconist, our insurance has gone up nearly $300,000. So either you pay the insurance or you need to kick the tenant out. So we were like, well, we're not paying 300 grand. We'll pass this. We basically chatted to the tenant. We're like, look, we doubt you're going to pay 300 grand. You either need to leave or you need to change what you're doing. You can't be a tobacconist anymore. So they ended up changing. So they're now a convenience store. Potentially they are still doing things. I don't know. That's, I don't need to know what they're doing. But all signage and everything is gone. It's now deemed a convenience store. That's under their permitted use. So we're all covered as the owner. So it took a little bit, and I guess I'm lucky it didn't happen straight away, because coming into your first commercial, you hear that it's risky. You're not sure what's going to happen. Obviously, I trust
300 grand is massive. Like that's
their rent's only 50 grand. So 300 grand is a lot for them. So yeah, look, it ended up all working out. We obviously had to get a solicitor to kind of help us through it. But yeah, we're out the other side now. Insurance has all been fine. They're down as a convenience store. Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing. What I find interesting about this story is you did everything right. You got the right people to help you buy the right asset in the right location at the right time. A tobacconist. What year was this? 2021 or something like that?
2022. Yeah.
Yeah. So this whole tobacconist, firebombing, insurance issues, whenever that didn't exist in 2022, 2023. So having a tobacconist was not on anyone's radar, but all of a sudden something happens out there in the world, and all of a sudden this tobacconist and insurance stuff goes crazy. And like, this is some of the realities of property investing. And I think people just need to be a little bit like flexible with things, because things are going to pop up. Like, what would you do in that situation? The answer is that, like, there's two ways. Just put your head in the sand and say, great, I have to sell this asset because now it's $300,000 worth of rent. Or you can kind of look at this problem and try and come up with a solution. And you guys came up with an amazing solution of just shifting the asset type. And the good thing is you structured the lease in a way that, well, you didn't structure the lease. I imagine it was done by, the team and a great property manager, so that you're not getting in trouble and you're not responsible for this thing. So that's really good.
I think it also came down to the fact that like, you can change the tenant, but you can't change the location. So my husband and I kind of looked at it and we go, well, are you happy with the property as a property and the location? And we were like, yes, we are. Like, we would happily have another tenant in there. So we're like, cool. Well, then, yes, we will keep it and we'll work through it because we like the asset itself. I can't change the location. It's right across from the beach. We're always going to get foot traffic. We'll get a tenant. So if they left, we didn't mind. We would, take somebody else.
So
I think before they were there, it was it's a single. But yeah, before the tobacconist, I think it was a hair salon. And then before that was like a nail studio. So definitely a couple of different things. It could be any sort of shop, really. Yeah,
gotcha.
You're absolutely dropping. There's so much wisdom that you're just imparting. Like, and it really showed, because like that thing you said there, you can change the tenant, or you can change the property, but you can't change the location. Because so many people get caught up on, I'm going to go and buy this $300,000 regional property, and it's in the bad pocket of a suburb. For example, I'm not saying buy, you don't buy, you do what you need to do. West Wendouree, for example, which Joe, you and I kind of know that's where Stevie Knight was buying those $40,000 or $20,000-$30,000 properties back in 2000s. Like, he bought like 10 dozens of them because that first home owners grant. But that's like still known as a rougher part of thing, and you can't change where that property is located. Yes, you can maybe spruce it up a little bit, but you're buying that cheap and you're going to probably sell it cheap, unless it's going to take decades. It still hasn't gentrified. It did grow, but yeah, you sort of compromise on that. So you said so many things. I'm just trying to remember all the things you said, but you've said so many amazing sort of things that you can see you've really thought about your investing and absorbed that experience. So good on you. And where did you go? So you didn't just buy one, you bought a couple of commercials, didn't you? Or you bought, you have a couple?
Yeah, so I started basically after that. Steve was like, do you want to come on board? So I ended up moving over to work with Policey and kind of got more confidence around commercial and just being around people who deal with it or know about it, learning from Steve. And so we were like, yeah, look, we've still got, some cash reserves. We've kind of did a bit of another refinance, and probably something that I hadn't really done too much. Like obviously you can change banks, but because some of them now we're into 2024, like some of mine had been, 8-9 years, and I'd had interest only. So the went down to P&I when we had the really low interest rates, moved quite a few to P&I because the difference between interest only and P&I was minimal. So I was like, all right, I can pay a bit off, and then when they started coming back up, I was like, okay, no, this isn't going to work. So moved a couple back over 30 years. So it just goes to show sometimes, and I think a few people have said this before, but it's like, it's not a game of property. It's a game of finance with just properties thrown in. And I don't think that could be more true. I was able to refinance 2 of them just only a couple of months ago. 2 got refinanced and pulled out equity, and I'm paying less because I refinanced them over 30 years, interest only, and I'm paying less now than I was with the equity out than I was before. So I've managed to pull out a couple of $100,000 and I'm still paying less than what I was. And it's just simply the time factor because those loans had now been over 22 years or something as opposed to the 30. So it made a big difference. So if you can do some creative lending or get a good broker who can kind of have a vision and kind of understand where you're trying to go and not just be like, okay, how do we get 1 property? Like I'm able to sit with my broker and go, hey, how do I get 2, 3, 4 properties? That's what I want to plan. And I think people don't quite do that. They do 1 or 2 and then they hit that ceiling, they get stuck. And then they kind of are like, oh, well, I'm stuck. Whereas if you can try and map it out a bit more, it's hard to do. And you got to find the right people to do it with. But if you can map it out, then often you don't get stuck and you can keep going.
It's actually really fun. Like I know that sounds really like, sorry, you might not think it's fun because but I'm like, how do we get how do you get? I used to do this with my broker as well. Like I like with Aaron, like I just annoy the heck out of him. But it's like how do you get to the 5th property? What does that look like? And then he's like, oh, but Jeff, the lender thing's going to change. I'm like, that's okay. I get into the trouble doing that as well. Like I'm like, yeah, we could do cast out to next 5 years, but it's like, well, you might have 3 kids in 5 years time, so let's not go too crazy. But yeah, so what I wanted to say is so you sort of sorted that out, and I think so. What's your longer term plan anyway? How do you when I say longer term, like I feel like you've already done 2 or 3 property cycles, so
you've got an incredible, like you're done. Like you can sit on this portfolio now for the next decade. It's going to double for you, and you're going to be set for life. Like,
yeah, look, I definitely could. I think I like buying properties too much, so. But look, I like definitely moving a little more into commercial, making my portfolio a bit more 50-50. Or even maybe weighted slightly more commercial. At the moment, it's probably, I think it's 7. I've still got 6 resi and just did 4th commercial. So I've still got a bit to go, but look, just slowly selling down when the time's right. I sold 1 last financial year and then we'll sell 1 this financial year. So kind of staggering them out for tax benefits. But also maybe selling 2 kind of close in 2 financial years that helps, but then combining them to buy a bigger commercial. For us now, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So, if I can sell 2 and get a commercial where it's, giving me passive income, that's what we're working towards so that we can, have choices. And I think that's what, they say money can't buy happiness, but I think money can buy choice. And that's what most people want. They want to be able to choose what they want to do, not be limited to things. So that's probably what I'm aiming for. I still think, I still enjoy resi, obviously having the move. I think resi is such an important part. I wouldn't have got to where I am or being able to do commercial without resi. And it's something a lot we get asked all the time, especially for new, should I come in and buy a resi or should I buy a commercial? Well, to me, if it's your first, first, second, third, 100% go buy resi. You can get much better lending, you get higher LVRs, and if you can go buy 3 resi instead of 1 commercial, you get 3 times the growth. It's a no-brainer. And then, I've obviously been able to increase rents. COVID really helped with that as well. But cosmetic reno, nearly all of them have now had small cosmetic renos, painting, whatever it may be. And that's kind of improved the equity, value of it to be able to get equity to move into commercial. But I just find it's levers for me now is how I like to look at it. So I've got a couple of different options. So I don't really have, I guess to answer that person's question was, I don't really have maybe one set plan. We probably have 2 or 3 that kind of evolve as we go. Like it's, we're still rent investing at the moment. So maybe it's, we're going to do a forever home at some point. Where that is or how much it's going to cost or how we do that, is still changing. So we just like to have options and to be able to do that.
I love it. I've got a couple of questions around the commercial side of things, like the realities of being a commercial property owner. And there's some really good questions. Just going on to the last sponsor now, and then we can dig into some of those, and then we can kind of answer any kind of questions that people have, and then wrap this sucker up. This has been super insightful. It's amazing.
Oh, Jeff, I wish there was 3 investing books that covered everything property.
Oh, Joe, there is. Steve has 3 books now.
That I do, guys. I've got 3 books now. You probably don't even have to follow this group anymore. Just kidding. You want to keep seeing and hearing from me, of course, so stay involved. But in all seriousness, if you want to get the full picture of investing, residential, commercial, and development, these 3 books have you covered for the fundamentals. For OzProp members, here's the best part. I'm giving these books to you for free. Just cover the postage and I'll send them right to your door. Go to policeyproperty.com or click the link below and get your copies today. You can also get all my spreadsheets, checklists, and resources free on my website. Happy reading, gang.
Here we go. So yeah, what before Joe jumps in and asks his question, I want to know, because commercial versus you've had the experience with unit blocks and all that side of things. Now, it's just I like. Did you sort of weigh up still going like a unit block that you could then strata title, add the value? How did you sort of weigh that up? Because I often sort of weigh that up, and when I'm chatting to people, that's what I think.
Well, like a subdivision, like a bulk cash deal. Yeah.
How did you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, look, it was something that we kind of tossed into. We looked at the development side, but it was just, I think the timing, like having a new baby and work and stuff, it was just kind of,
congrats,
having, thank you. Having, 9, 10 properties in the portfolio, it was like, I don't have time for that in a way. Obviously, I feel like I could have made time if it was really maybe a passion that I had, but development is not really a passion for me yet. I feel like I'd love to tackle it in the future, maybe when I'm feeling, have a bit more base where I'm happy to take more risks with that. So commercial just seemed to us kind of the right choice. It was, bricks and mortar really, or, warehouse. And it was, it's a physical thing. It's basically the same, it has a lease. It's similar in a lot of ways, but also the whole idea that it can be passive. So we definitely wanted to go into it. And obviously at the start, we definitely needed a BA. And then working, in that field, I've definitely just become more confident with it. I see people's clients' deals all the time. And I'm like, this is awesome.
That's the thing, right? Like, there's so much fear and unknown around the commercial space. Like, do you? I guess what are some of the things that you thought would be a concern and an issue for commercial, and now the reality of owning them, you're like, oh, actually, it's not that bad at all. That was really quite scary, and I realize it's not a big deal whatsoever. Like, what were some of those things that you can kind of myth bust for people?
Yeah, I think one of it is just understanding the different asset types and location. Like, I think most people can think of, when you think of commercial, that one shop that's like always been vacant. So there's one where I did live in Barara with my mum and dad. They're in north side of Sydney. And there's they did like some townhouses and they put some retail shops underneath. One has a gym in it. that's actually done well. It's been there for 10, 15 years. The other shop has been vacant for 10, 15 years since it's been built. Every time I go there, I see it. And it's just always like, that was always in my brain, that when people are like, oh, commercial, like that's what I think of. And I'm like, oh, like, but they're not the one. Like if you're using a BA or doing your research, that's not what you're buying. So I think people can make the wrong decision. It's the same as residential though too. Like you can make the wrong decision. In commercial, I just think it's a little bit heightened by, having to put more money in and just that little bit more risk if you do get it wrong. So that's why I'd recommend doing your research or using a BA to do it properly. But yeah, I think also just knowing that we had some residential as a base, which most of the clients I work with or see, they do have that strong residential base, which is great because it just means they feel secure to be able to take maybe a step to commercial, in which can seem a bit more risky, that they've got something there to support them if things don't go right for some reason.
Yeah. I want to go a bit. Do you have any more sort of questions to Frojo? Or I wanted to ask a more general, like, what are some of the mistakes along your journey that somebody starting today or just starting, what are the things that they should consider or be looking at?
Look, probably the biggest mistake is just, probably two, not getting educated enough. And I don't think there's any excuse anymore. I mean, there is so many courses, there's podcasts, there's there's a free video from you guys every week. Like there's multiple posts. You guys have 80,000 people. Like there's just so much education out there. It's a time thing and it's a priority thing. And some people just can't do that. And that's okay if that's their choice. But I think the biggest one, if you want to succeed, now that there is, I guess, it's kind of a catch-22. So there's a lot of education, but that means a lot of people are also getting the same education. And there's a lot more buyers in the market because people kind of understand it more. So doing your education is probably number one. And I definitely didn't do that when I was younger on some of my
took action though. I think that's
I did.
Like if I were to say the bigger error is like sort of just educating versus actually taking action and not doing as much education. I think definitely the former is the bigger one, because I see so many people, they've missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars because they just haven't pulled the trigger. But what kept you motivated, Belinda? What was your why to when you were buying? Because things would have got tough. Like you had the Townsville situation, you had your challenging sort of student situation with the expenses up in Newcastle. You had the Albury Wodonga property there that had challenges as well with extra sort of costs and vacancies. How did you sort of keep yourself fired up? Was it sort of that family support that you had there, sort of keeping you motivated?
Definitely a bit of family support. And I think just knowing that I was like, back then I was teaching, I was on a medium salary at the time. And I think I always knew that I wasn't, I guess, like a super smart surgeon who's going to go and earn like 800 grand a year. I knew that wasn't me. So I'm like, I need another option. What is that going to be? And, I guess it is probably like how I was brought up and the family and just values we had, that it ended up being property. It probably could have just as easily been stocks or shares if that was what my family were into. So I definitely think that kind of went that way. But for the first couple of years, it was 100% just sibling rivalry. That's what definitely for the first couple of years. And then I think it just started to be like, you started getting the rent in your bank account. And I was like, oh, and then interest rates went down, good positive cash flow. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I'm not doing anything. And then at the end of the month, I'm getting thousands of dollars in my account. Like, this is great. And then now, obviously, it's changed. Having a family, it's very much like, I want to be able to provide opportunities for my son. Big one for me is education. I want him to be able to, go to school, go to college, go to university, have a good education, whether that be here, overseas, wherever it may be, but kind of have that ability to not be working, 9 to 5 every day when I have kids, being able to be that bit more flexible, maybe be a bit more present and kind of enjoy that time with them by having flexibility, whether that's working part-time because I've got passive income he's only one at the moment, so he won't know. But, 5-10 years, maybe I can drop down to be part-time, and then that way I can spend, time with him. And
is he gonna be a painter, Belinda?
I mean, mate, he's gonna have to learn how to hold a paintbrush. That is for sure.
Yeah, couldn't help it.
This has been an awesome session, Belinda. Like, I love these investor stories. We're going to do a lot more investor stories, because when I was starting out, it was the best part about everything. It was like, wait, Belinda, you're very smart, you very switched on. And the thing that I love the most is that action towards the bias towards action that you have is you might not even realize it, but you have a very high bias towards action, which is one of the hardest things to get in property investing. The knowledge of stuff is everything there. So your makeup has allowed you to push yourself ridiculously far. So hats off to you for doing that, because not a lot of people, 99.99% of people haven't done what you've achieved. So congratulations to that. And you've motivated and inspired so many people just having this conversation. So thank you so much for taking the time.
No
yeah.
problem.
Do you have any last questions, Joe? I just wanted to finish on one last thing.
Go on.
I know,
Dig it, mate.
Poor Joe. Sorry, man. He's been. Yeah. What was this? Is sorry. It's a bit of a micro question.
Ended on a high.
We had the positive vibes going, and I'm like, what was the biggest unexpected outgoing cost? Like, what were some of the challenges you faced in the journey?
The biggest cost, definitely the second property when I had the 3 students, the power. So I think back then, power was a bit cheaper back then, but I think 1 quarter, my bill was like $1,200.
$1,200?
I think back then it was normally like $300. So to get a $1,200 bill, and I was like, ugh.
Did you check the, what were they doing? Something a bit funny? Did they divert the power somewhere else? Or
just leaving air cons on? And I guess that's one of the things with students, it's not their stuff. Like, it's a furnished place that they're moving into. They leave the aircon running. They leave the lights on. They leave the shower on. They're not paying the bills. They don't care. And that's, something I learned quite quickly once I did it. But again, I'm glad I did it. I learned something, and it was the property itself is now good, but it was a journey.
What has been the biggest upside? So how much equity, your best, the most amount of equity that you've made from one property, like from what you purchased it for to what it's worth now? Like, how much is it? $1 million? Is it 700,000? Is it 500? Like, what's the most amount of money you've made in property in one deal?
Probably about 800.
Wow.
Yeah,
I remember Joe asking this question. Yeah. I remember Joe asking that questions like, how much money have you made from property? Is it 50,000 or is it 100? And like, everybody's like, okay, 500,000 plus half the room has a hand up.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I was like, Joe, you need to increase the increments. But no, that was a good question. That was a great question, Joe. Guys, since Joe's nominating us to get more property investor stories, give us that 5-star on Spotify so we can get out there. This has been an amazing conversation. Hopefully we can inspire young guys and girls, but particularly girls, because I think there needs to be that. Somebody said to us the other day that I don't know who it was. It was was Shona, actually. She said, look, she wants to talk a little bit more about that to sort of get more inspiration amongst that, because I think it's important that happens as well to get that out there and get everybody, well, as many people as they want to invest in property. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Give us that 5-star on Spotify, team. And actually, one last thing, Belinda, is there anything that we should have covered off that we didn't ask you? Like, what are the things that we didn't cover off that we should have?
I would say the whole probably being a teacher and what it taught me. I feel like, sorry, I kind of skipped over that. Section.
I wanted to do that as well. Yeah.
Look, it's one of those, my pop was a teacher and my auntie was a teacher. So I didn't really know what I wanted. I don't think back then they kind of hyped up property investing wasn't really a thing to go into. So went into teaching. I really liked it. It's, the kids were great. I had a couple of different ages. I started trained K to 12, but then decided on primary. So my last class was a year 4 class and they were awesome. And it just, I don't know, I think from teaching, I learned, a lot of patience, but also just organization, I'm normally a very organized person. So if you see my wardrobes or cupboards, it's all very labeled and organized. But look, it gave me the skills, I think, to talk to people and just kind of be open. And that definitely translates, I find, even just explaining concepts. Like at work, I speak to clients a lot, and I love it links in, they tell me their stories of their life and what resis and things they've got, how they got to this. And I absolutely love it. And, it's opening up to them and kind of teaching them about the world of commercial, because most people who come, haven't kind of ventured into that. So yeah, look, I loved being a teacher. It's obviously I've just found more of a passion with property investing. So, have moved into that side of things. But look, shout out to all the teachers out there. It is a hard job. I don't think people understand.
Well, it's very,
you've got so many holidays, but there is so much work behind the scenes, so much marking, reporting, it is a hard job. So shout out to all the teachers.
Yeah, I've got a really one of my best mates a teacher, and he'll stay back sometimes to sort of 4 or 5 o'clock, and he'll do weekend work, and he's 5 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's school finishes. Yeah, school finishes are free, and he gets there. But so it's exceptional. Like the people that teachers really care, and I think I'd love to see is more financial education literacy at school, but that's a different conversation. But the plaudits are flowing in. Rebecca says thanks for sharing. Fiona has said, thanks, Belinda. Great session. Bradford, mate. I remember now for Friday night we had a good chat. She said thanks for the insights, Belinda and gents also. So yeah, it's been great. Thanks for bringing us home, Steve. Sorry, Joe.
Steve, Jesus. Well, is there anything?
Bloody hell, he goes away.
You need to grow the beard a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything you want to promote or give out there to people? I know obviously you work for Policey Property, which is amazing. Or any last parting thing to give to people? I don't know. What?
Look, I mean, people ask me this, if you were to buy a property, what's something that's quick and easy, or something I can look for. So I had said it's kind of like turning on a tap is the way I think about it. So it's TAP. So T is team. And I think that's probably the most important, and something I learned, have a good mortgage broker, have a good accountant, and sometimes that is, especially accountants, professionals can be expensive, or a BA, have the professionals in your corner, have the team that are going to support you and help you there. So that's the T. A would be ACT. Obviously, I'm good at that one. But ACT for just general things going to get a mortgage, you have to provide bank statements, pay slips, tax returns, the amount of documents. And I feel like people look at that and go, that's too hard, and don't do it. So you actually have to act, you have to kind of get your stuff together and send it off to get the pre-approvals and do things. So that can be a really hard one for some people, but something you've got to do. And then P is patience. I think a lot of people get excited, they get their loan docs done, they've got their team ready, and they're like, I'm ready to buy a property. And then they just jump in and go, yep. Or jump on Facebook and go, where should I buy for $600,000? So instead of doing that, be a bit more patient, do your research, look for the data points, kind of work out where you're going to go and what you're going to do. Obviously, don't, wait too long. You still want to act, but you need to be patient and not just jump at the first thing that comes up. You actually have to be confident and educated in what you're doing. So yeah, I like to say, turn on the tap.
To end it. Awesome. Turn on the tap. Turn the tap up.
Back on deck,
amazing. Thank you thank you very much, guys. Good to be back. Belinda, thank you so much. Let's go buy a property, guys. Let's start tapping. Let's start turning the tap.
Thanks, guys.
There we go. Thanks, Belinda. Love you.